The remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong is now out on Nintendo Switch, and it gave us even more bosses this time around. Well, technically only 2 extra bosses this time around, thanks to its 2 extra worlds. But today we're going through every single Donkey Kong boss battle and ranking them from easiest to hardest. Now, I have a total of 10 bosses because I am combining all the regular Donkey Kong boss battles with the plus level boss battles as well as to one big boss battle from each world. Of course, that makes 8 with the 2 different final boss battles to make a grand total of 10. Now, to be ranking these, it's just pretty much how much difficulty I think I had with it and what I think a lot of people could have with it, and just its difficulty level in general. So it could be a little bit more skewed based on my playthrough compared to your playthrough, but definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think of my picks. I also want to add the fact that this game is not very hard and none of the boss battles are that difficult whatsoever. I based the boss difficulty on how easy it was to take damage. If you're going for the no damage gold star run, how difficult is it to not take damage? Real quick before we get started and dive into this list, if you enjoy rankings and boss videos like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. A lot of you watching this video right now are not yet subscribed. Let's see how many people we can get to subscribe from this one video. But thank you so much for tuning in. Let's dive into every boss from Mario vs. Donkey Kong ranked from easiest to hardest. The easiest boss on this list, believe it or not, is not even the first one. It's actually from the last world of the game, Twilight City. Now, Twilight City in the original game felt a little bit more difficult than this one, but at least through my playthrough, this was without a doubt the easiest boss in the game. There were some sections where I didn't even need to hit the switch in order to turn the conveyor belts the other way to get the bomb to hit Donkey Kong. Sometimes he would literally just sit there and the bomb would just hit him without me having to do really any work whatsoever, especially on the Plus version, which seemed to be even easier than the first time. I don't know what they did differently. It seems like Donkey Kong is just not as active in this boss battle compared to the original game, but yeah, this one was just way too easy. Next up, we have the first world of the game, Mario's Toy Company Donkey Kong, where you have to grab colored trash bins and throw them at Donkey Kong. This is kind of the basis of how you fight Donkey Kong in this game. It's getting you used to the basics of picking up the trash can and climbing up platforms in order to throw the trash can, and really all you're looking out for is falling debris from the sky. And the second version isn't much harder either. There's just more colored platforms to jump on, so you have to be on your toes. Moving on to number 8, we have Spooky House Donkey Kong. So this one, whenever he hits a colored switch, it will drop that ghost Shy Guy down, allowing you to pick him up and throw him. This one isn't that difficult at all, but it's the first time I did start to take damage, and mostly because I'm very impatient and I want to beat it as quickly as possible, even when it's not on time trial. But I feel like that's the only reason I was taking damage. So if you're not careful, at least a little bit, you will get hit. But for the most part, it's a very easy boss battle, and I feel like the second version is just as easy as the first, if not easier if anything. Number 7, we have Merry Miniland Donkey Kong, and the first version of this is extremely easy. It's very much like the first world's boss with Mario's Toy Company by grabbing a colored trash can, but this time you have colored flowers also that turn on based on the button that's pressed from Donkey Kong, and you just jump into the flower and throw the barrel at Donkey Kong. Lots of the time the flowers put you right next to Donkey Kong, so it's almost impossible to miss a throw, but yeah, the second one did ramp it up a little bit, which puts it higher on this list, where some of the flowers actually push you away from Donkey Kong, and you have to find a good angle in order to fly up there and hit him and throw the trash can at the right time. It's also the fact that he's throwing spike barrels at you that makes this boss battle a lot more difficult than the other ones so far. Number 6, we have the true final boss of the game, being the giant Robo DK. Now, this one really just depends on how good you are with the in-game mechanics, because if you know what you're doing with the flips and everything, you will not even get close to taking damage. All you gotta do is make sure you know how to flip over and you're good to go, because the only real attack that he has is slamming the ground with his fist, where all you have to do is jump when he does this, and obviously dropping things from the sky, which if you're standing on your hands, you'll never take damage. And most of the time, you won't even be near the ground where he's slamming his fist. You'll be up in the girders above him, picking up barrels and getting ready to chuck them at him. It's a rinse and repeat thing that you gotta do 6 times, and you'll beat it before you even know it. If you're just anywhere near comfortable with the controls, this is going to be a breeze of a final boss battle. Next up at number 5, we have the first final boss of the game. Well, at least part 1, I guess you could call it. This one, yes, you don't want to get hit at all or it's game over, but you can just grab the keys and take them to the corresponding doors quickly as possible, and lots of the time, most of the barrels that Donkey Kong's throwing down won't even reach you. The path that the barrels are rolling are very obvious. They'll even bounce and stop for a second before rolling in the right direction, so you can see a mile ahead of time where they're going to go, and you can plan out your trip that way. And then after you get all the keys, you'll have to grab 3 giant barrels barrels at the bottom of the screen, and then take them up to DK where you can then throw the barrels at him. This boss battle is actually a lot of fun, but I really didn't see any sort of challenge in this whatsoever. He doesn't throw that many barrels where it gets difficult. I mean, the hardest part is just maybe getting blindsided by a barrel as you're moving up too fast, but if you just take your time, I mean, there's nothing in this stage that could really do a lot of damage to you. Number 4, we have Slippery Summit DK. Now, this one is clearly difficult based on the ice that you actually have to walk on, where you're constantly in motion when you step on the ice, whether it be to the left or to the right, and Mario does this little twirl, which can make it very hard for him to be controlled. Now, you can walk on your hands, which makes things easier, or just stand on the wooden planks at the edge, which I found to be the easiest method. Once you figure out just to have patience again, this game is just full of patience, which I do not have, you can just stand on the little wooden pallets and find the pattern in which he throws the barrels, and you'll be a-okay. Just wait on the pallets, and as soon as he moves, you can throw the barrel at him. But yes, without a doubt, the hardest part about this one is definitely the ice, but what's also really cool is you could throw the barrels down through an ice path without even having to go all the way to Donkey Kong if you're good enough. For number 3, we have Donkey Kong Jungle DK. Now this one isn't necessarily difficult, it's more based on RNG if anything. Yes, you have to have good timing to make sure the fruit falls on DK when he goes across the screen at the right spot, but a lot of the time it's just based on DK's wild, sporadic movement. Sometimes he'll just go back and forth on one side of the stage, sometimes he'll go all the way back and forth on the left and right sides of the stage entirely. It's really just up to how the computer decides to move, and on the second version, this can be even more wacky. And yeah, it can actually be kind of difficult as he throws lots of those little muncher enemies at you, and the fact that there's spikes now on the floor, you can't just run completely across the floor at the bottom. Not to mention, the spikes are an instant KO, but it won't take you too long just to find a good little pattern of just knocking down the same fruit in the same area and just hoping DK falls into it. It's really all about the Donkey Kong RNG for this one. Honestly, this is another one I could see some people putting this one higher because it's very easy for him to just throw one of the enemies right at you, but for me at least, it was just me needing to have some more patience and not push myself too much. Now we get into the ones that could be kind of annoying, especially if you're going for the no-hit challenge. And at number 2, we have Fire Mountain DK. Fire Mountain DK on the first version is extremely easy and you probably won't have any type of problem with this one. You grab the barrel and you chuck it at Donkey Kong. The only problem you might have is clashing your barrels with his lava rocks, which will just result in you having to grab another barrel and do it all over again, but for the most part, it's really hard to take damage on this first one at least. But the second one is where I had some issues. In the second version, the entire arena is changed completely. You now have these little crumbled rocks that crumble away once you step on them, and they don't come back the entirety of the boss battle, which means a lot of the time you're going to have to utilize the 2 moving pegs on the left and right sides. But not only do you have to pay attention to that, you have to watch out for the things going up and down, and you also have to watch out for Donkey Kong's lava rocks. And it's not terribly difficult by any means, but I just kept having issues of the lava rocks taking weird bounces and randomly bounce toward you at the last second and hit you. It was just weird and random, and I just found myself just taking damage from everything. Yeah, these lava rocks were really the bane of my existence, and I can see a lot of people still thinking maybe the Donkey Kong Jungle version is a lot harder than this one, but this one's definitely one that tripped me up, at least trying to get the perfect medal. What's the hardest boss in the entire game? Stupid Mystic Forest. I absolutely hated this boss battle, and it really wasn't all because of the gimmick of the conveyor belts, even though that's very annoying and I'll get to that in a second, but most of the reason this boss battle sucked is because of the hitboxes. This game's hitboxes are very strange, where a lot of the time you'll jump on an enemy but it will still kill you because it's thinking that the enemy is actually hitting you. And so many times I clearly jump on a Bob-omb just for me to take damage from him. I mean, it's genuinely the most annoying thing in the entire game. And the problem wasn't even just this boss battle, it was literally in the entire world or any level that actually included a Bob-omb. There were so many times where I would jump onto a Bob-omb just for it to tell me that I took damage. I don't understand how it's coded in that way. Yes, it kind of sucks that this boss battle technically gets labeled the hardest boss in the game when a lot of it is due to a bug with landing on enemies in this game. Once I learned that the game doesn't allow you to jump from the ground onto a bomb on that first conveyor belt, I figured out, you know what, to beat the game, I'm just gonna have to play it in a dumb way by just waiting and being extremely patient and moving extremely slowly and waiting for the bombs to go into the grass part, which is just kind of sad. But yes, the conveyor belts can be tricky, they move very fast and Donkey Kong can actually shift them on a fly, so bombs are going to be flying at you from every which way, which does add some credibility to it being difficult, but dang, that stupid bomb bug, they've got to fix that. But like always, I leave it up to you guys. What do you think is the hardest and the easiest boss in Mario vs. Donkey Kong? Do you agree or disagree with my picks, and did you experience any type of weird collisions with bombs or any other enemies in this game? Definitely let me know in the comments down below, and before you go, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Nintendo and more rankings like this, because I do plan on doing a boss ranking based on the worst to the best bosses in the game as well. So you'll want to make sure you stay tuned for that. But thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and I will see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.